Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson, and I want to say Happy New Year. Happy 2018. Listen, I want to make sure that I can do everything in my power to see that this is your best year yet. I want you to really embrace this moment and to understand how powerful you are to affect change in your life. And right now, starting with today, this is about stacking conditions in your favor, right? Getting educated on different topics and utilizing tools that we see fit to help to empower our lives. And with that said, I'm very excited to kick things off with a conversation on a topic that I've been more and more fascinated with, and that's the topic of stress and the interesting ways that stress affects our health. Now, stress is interesting because it has some really rampant effects that we are seeing today as far as these negative associations, stress-related illnesses. And if you look at the data, even dating back to like the 1900s, most physician visits were for things like acute infection or an injury, some kind of trauma or childbirth or things of that nature. Today, over 90% of all physician visits are for stress-related illnesses. Crazy, right? We don't think about that. We don't think that there's a stress component to diabetes. We don't think that there's a stress component to cancer. We don't think that there's a stress component, to anxiety. Well, maybe we do. Maybe we do if we really look at the stuff going on behind the scenes and just how much of a stressor sugar can be to our body, for example, right? And how that can manifest in insulin resistant and the associated labels that we get from there, right? So this all has to do with stress. But on the other side, we have to really embrace the fact that stress is actually really, really good for you. And we're going to talk about that today because it's kind of like a bell-shaped curve when it comes to stress, which we're going to discuss. But bottom line is we need stress. Stress induces growth. Stress induces development. Stress induces betterment and us really reaching our full potential. We need stress to become better. But the form that comes in, the dosage, all of those things matter immensely. And also something that I've been really fascinated with lately is the concept of intermittent fasting, and something that I've been tinkering with for many years now myself. But I've become more and more fascinated with all of the stuff going on, again, behind the scenes and the latest research coming out about it. And so I sought out to find who is the person that really pushed this into popular culture, this concept of intermittent fasting. And it just so happens he also has a new project that's centered around stress because he knows that intermittent fasting is, in many ways, is hormetic stressor, a stressor that can make you better from your brain to your blood sugar to your belly fat, all right? And this guy really knows his stuff. And sometimes, we just got to geek out. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. But the intermittent fasting, we did an episode on this a while back. So I'm going to put that in the show notes, really a master class on the hard-hitting bullet points about the benefits of intermittent fasting. You need to check that episode out for sure. It's really a game changer. And so just in a brief summation of what intermittent fasting looks like, this is something that, number one, when you utilize intermittent fasting, you could produce more brain-derived neurotropic factor, protective of your neurons, literally helping to keep your brain younger longer by not eating all the time. What a concept. It's so crazy when we were taught something very, very different. Also, improvements in your blood sugar, right? Your blood glucose and that management and its kind of overall level. We see improvements in reduction of body fat, a change in body composition related to smart intermittent fasting and many other benefits. But how does this play out? Well, this is just having a brief fasting window in your day, right? This isn't like fasting for a week. This isn't fasting for several days, anything like that. This is taking each day in a segment of your day and not consuming any food during that segment. And you get all of these benefits, which we're going to cover. And so what does this look like? Even a brief window, which could be just when you finish dinner the night before, maybe you finish dinner at 8 p.m. And then you have a 12-hour fasting window. You just break your break fast, right? You break your fast, having your breakfast or whatever it is, you eat again at 8 a.m. the next day. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but that 12-hour window, you get a lot of bang for your buck. When you extend that even more, maybe it's a 13, 14, 16-hour fasting window, you get some really interesting benefits from that too. So Now, the issue is that this comes up against our modern kind of paradigm about what we should be doing in the morning. We were taught that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And this is taught to us by the same people who are creating kids' cereals, all right? Who create Gotta Have My Pops and our Lucky Charms. These are the same guys that's saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, I got a quick story to share because I'm thinking about my favorite cereal growing up, and this doesn't exist anymore, thank the heavens, but it was Smurf cereal. This is a real thing, all right? Smurf cereal. It was like eating, I guess, if unicorns were a thing, maybe it was like unicorn and fairy dust and magic all together in a bowl. Like, it was just crazy. So good. And from there, transitioned Mr. T cereal. Like, a lot of cartoons had their associated cereals. And my fondest memory, because a lot of times our eating behaviors are tied to emotional experiences, right? They're tied to memories. And so I fell in love with Fruity Pebbles thanks to my great-grandmother, all right? My great-grandmother, who we called Momo, all right? Momo. I remember spending time with her. I got to ride the senior citizen bus. It was a different kind of bus. And Momo, when we got back to her residence, she gave me some Fruity Pebbles, changed my life. All right, so this is imbued in our culture, right? And who is even creating these cereals? Like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just literally create as much puffed up sugar as we can and market this to kids, all right? Anyways, let's not even go down that path. Bottom line is, it's time for us to get educated and see how we can even shift our ideas about breakfast, how we can shift our ideas about stress, and that's what today is all about. And I also want to let you know about something that's kicking off this year. I'm incredibly excited about. It's going to be a game changer for you. Is what we're calling Model Mondays. All right, Model Mondays. This is a power-packed way that we're going to be kicking off your weekend. This is exclusive for the Model Health Show listeners. So every Monday, you're going to get an email with 3 powerful things to help to up-level your life. This could be books that I'm reading. This could be tips that are related to episodes of the show that we didn't get into the show, deeper information, new studies. This could be a particular product that I'm really loving at this time. So it's going to be something that can add value to your life, give you some more insight, give you some tips to kick off your week. And I want to make sure that you've got access to this. So head over to themodelhealthshow.com/Mondays. All right, with the S, all right? themodelhealthshow.com/Mondays, and you're going to get access to the Model Mondays. And I promise you, it's going to be a game changer. All right, you're going to absolutely love it. We got some really cool stuff already teed up for you for this coming Monday. So pop over there now, and you're going to get access to all of this bonus stuff from the Model Health Show, just more of the Model Health Show. Each and every Monday, you're going to get some information that will be featured here on the show. Each and every Monday, you're going to get some more value, some more knowledge bombs and nuggets and resources every single week. So head over there and get signed up right now for the Model Mondays. All right, themodelhealthshow.com/Monday. And now, as you know, getting access to healthy food, right? High quality, healthy food, getting access to personal care products that are not loaded with toxins and dangerous carcinogens, that are in a lot of personal care products, which is crazy because it's such a underregulated industry. Paying a premium oftentimes when we're just making the decision, like, I'm gonna buy healthier food. I'm not gonna buy pesticide-laced food. I'm gonna buy organic. It can really hit us. It can hit us right in the pocketbook and become an additional stressor. And as we're talking about today, as you're gonna learn, having even financial stress or just too much stress, this psychological weighing on us to do the right thing to take better care of our health, it shouldn't exist. And my friends at Thrive Market stepped up to do something about it. They wanted to make sure that these premium products, organic, in all these different categories, they have organic, gluten-free, paleo, vegetarian, whatever kind of label that you're looking for, the very best brands though, all right? They curate and find out the best brands, and they work with the companies to get these products direct to you with no middleman, all right? So you're paying the wholesale price for some of the best stuff in the world, and I absolutely love them. I kick myself whenever I don't order something from Thrive Market and I end up paying the full price at stores like, Whole Foods or kind of the local health food store that, we love those guys, but hey, sometimes it can really hit us in the pocket. And so Thrive Market's providing those same foods you'd find, all right? Foods, personal care products, household cleaning items, and so much more at 25 to 50% off the retail price you'll pay at Whole Foods, all right? Crazy, all right? And on top of that, by you being a listener of the Model Health Show, you're going to get an additional 25% off your first purchase, all right? Off your entire first purchase by going to thrivemarket.com/model health. All right, model health together in one word. So thrivemarket.com/model health, 25% off your first purchase and free shipping. All right, and you get free shipping as well. So I want you to take advantage. Pop over there. You also get to see a list of some of the favorite things that I buy from Thrive Market. And again, I love them. This is stuff that I use for myself and for my family. And it saves you so much money. It's kind of crazy. Once you actually see the savings, it's nuts. It's nuts, really. So I want you to take advantage of it. All right. If you're not using Thrive Market yet, what are you waiting for? And folks, make sure that you get a free membership for 30 days. All right. 30-day free membership. Keep the membership because it's just going to keep paying you back over and over and over again. All right. thrivemarket.com/model health. And now let's get to the iTunes review of the week.
Another 5-star review titled Best Show Ever by Ant Asher Pro. I love the Model Health Show and recommend it to all of my friends. I love the way Shawn thoroughly explains things and in such a fun way. It makes learning so easy, and I look forward to what health nuggets I can take away from each podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. I can relate to so many things that you talk about. The struggle was real growing up, and I appreciate that you did not allow your struggle to be your final story. Thanks, Shawn, and keep putting out fire content.
Fire, fire. Yes, I appreciate that so much. And thank you so much for that acknowledgement. Wow, that really means a lot. And I promise you, best is yet to come for sure. And it starts with today. All right, today. And guys, make sure that you head over and leave a review over on iTunes for me if you've yet to do so. But this episode, and just a little caveat. So I recorded this when I was, how do you say, les whispers? Les whispers? My voice was gone the day before, and I was able to kind of nurse it back to health, and I was limping my way through with my voice, but man, I was so energized and just sitting back and listening to our guest today, Ori Hofmekler, who really broke down. This is the guy who really pushed into popular culture the concept of intermittent fasting. Like there are, of course, people who've been working on this research for decades, but he encapsulated it and he's been utilizing it, and it shows in his vitality, his physical appearance. Like this guy, he's right around those senior years, and you would never know that, and it's just really remarkable. And he's got a cool accent, which you're going to see. And again, sometimes you just got to geek out, and that's what today's all about. Just he's going there and getting into this stuff. We're going to talk about emptor pathways, stress mimicking nutrients, intermittent fasting. All right. And again, he brought intermittent fasting into popular culture. And for him, and I just want to give you another caveat, he's a proponent, as he's going to share, of intermittent fasting with one meal. All right. Just having one meal a day. I am not necessarily a proponent of that. For some people, it's a workaround. It's a great ideal, but he does say, utilizing important, valuable things that have these stress mimicking nutrients like coffee, tea, high quality protein supplements as something that, you're utilizing through the day, and not necessarily just having that one meal, but also access to those things as well. But you also have to understand that you don't have to follow any of this stuff to a T. All right. It's just another option. And you can experiment with it and use it as you see fit for your unique goals in your life. And as you'll learn today, stress is a crucial component to creating better health, but too much can land you in a whole world of trouble. And I also want you to understand, don't let any diet or exercise program become the governing force in your life. Each expert is speaking from their experience and what they found to be helpful for themselves and for the folks that they've worked with. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfect for you. I want to provide the best experts in the world in their respective fields to you, for you to pick and choose the things that feel good to you. All right. But I want to make sure that you have the information. I want to make sure that you have it from the people who actually live it. All right. And as Bruce Lee says, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and keep what is uniquely your own. And on that note, let's get to our special guest, Ori Hofmekler. Ori Hofmekler is the author of The Warrior Diet and the first to introduce the concept of intermittent fasting in practice. A native-born Israeli, he graduated the Bezalel Academy of Arts and the Hebrew University, where he earned a degree in human sciences. Hofmekler's formative military experience prompted a lifelong interest in survival science and the biology of stress, all of which inspired him to pioneer a new area of research known as stress-activated food. All right, this is going to be some fascinating stuff today. In addition to the Warrior Diet, he's also the author of Maximum Muscle, Minimum Fat, the Anti-Estrogenic Diet, and Unlock Your Muscle Gene. And now he's here on the Model Health Show to talk about his new project, The 7 Principles of Stress. And I'd like to welcome to the Model Health Show the one and only Ori Hofmekler. How you doing today, Ori?
Very good, and pleasure to be here with you, Shawn.
Awesome. So glad to finally meet you and to talk to you. Very excited. I love your work. I love your latest book, and it's really bringing to bear some fascinating things we're going to cover today. But first, I want to know what got you interested in health and fitness in the first place. I want to know Ori's origin story. All right, when did you kind of get triggered and want to learn about health and fitness?
The very basic things that humans or animals want: feel good. But for us, it feel good and look good. Since I'm a kid, I was always doing sport and challenging myself. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge, the adventure, sometimes going too far with this. But, I just don't understand how humans cannot be interested in health and fitness. It's inherent to us. It's part of us. It's make us who we are.
Right.
It makes us look the way we look. So how can you not be interested?
Exactly. We were just talking about this too. I feel the same way. It's just like this amazing body that we live in. This is your place. This is the only thing that you really have ownership over. And we're so uneducated about it. And we were talking about this earlier too. And I believe that partly in our culture here, it's not given a visceral understanding for folks when we take biology class, and it's just this rote memorization, trying to pass a test, and not giving kids an understanding and respect and appreciation of this amazing body. So, man, thank you so much for sharing that. Well, here on the show,
you know what? I think you are very polite. You're a nice guy. I think you are anti-educated. I think we live in a system that turn horrible situation into normal. Terrible diet into trivial. So people are actually damaging themselves or reducing their chance to ever excel because they accept the system or they don't even try to challenge it. So what I did in my books, and especially in the 7 Principles of Stress, is challenging conventional thinking, bringing facts, including cutting-edge science that show people they can excel so far beyond what they believe.
Yeah.
I mean, just think that there is a real possibility to more than double the lifespan. People can stop bouting with the weight all the time. Fitness have much more meaning than just how fast do you run or how much weight do you lift. Fitness, or biological fitness, is a term of survival. How long could you survive? And can you resist the aging process? How can you mentally stay focused after hours of drill? And most importantly, what can you do to improve yourself and get better over time rather than the other way?
Yeah. Wow. That's what you're talking about is really a great life. And it sounds, again, the foundation of that is having our health and being empowered in our health. On the show, we talk a lot about stress, especially recently, because I truly feel that, people, we can overeat our way fat, we could undersleep our way fat, under-exercise our way fat, but we can also overstress our way fat. And this last one is not talked about enough because, stress is seemingly invisible in many ways, so we don't give it a lot of credit for its power. But we look at the negative side, but I've also touched on the positive side. Today, we're going to dive in on more of what that looks like. And so let's talk more about the beneficial side of stress. Let's kind of kick things off with that and this concept of hormesis. So what is that? And let's kind of kick things off there.
You said it right. Stress is almost invisible, and it's invisible because it's inherent to life. In fact, without stress, there is no meaning to life, and nothing that can generate force or sustain itself on this planet. Just think about it. Newton presented correctly so the universal forces of entropy. Everything in this planet is prone to degrade over time. Houses will decay, rocks will degrade into dust, and organisms degrade into ashes, ashes to ashes. We know that. However, life is an ongoing bout, struggle against these universal forces of entropy. These forces of entropy create ongoing stress. Every living creature need a system to protect itself from this stress. But this is only one way to look at it. Only one way. The other way is the true way. This system that I show in my book, it's actually predated life itself. This system was created to allow organisms not just to survive the stress, but adapt and improve. And that's the most important thing. Shawn, right now, the more you do your show, the more you challenge yourself intellectually and physically. You're not going to be just hanging in there. Yeah. You will get better, wiser, stronger. And this is the principle of hormesis. Exposure, and that's a biological phenomenon that most people do not understand, even though they do experience it. Exposure to low-level stress create resistance to and durability to high-level stress. Mm-hmm. It sounds very familiar, but this principle is not being followed. There are also other principles. Instant exposure to high stress can destroy you. Right. You really need to build your resistance. But one more thing, like many other phenomena of nature, stress is paradoxical. There is a threshold level that can only benefit you. And Shawn, this is incredible. And when you cross this threshold, stress can damage you. This even applies this principle to toxins. Toxins that we heard, oh my God, we should avoid them. Heavy metal, MSG, arsenic, just name it. In small, very small amount, all these toxins are extremely beneficial for us. In fact, we evolved biologically to live with this stress, so they're essential for us. Like the gravitation power and minimum radiation, so is heavy metal. We evolved in a world that was full of this toxin. But beyond a certain threshold, when the industry start, for instance, and pump in chemicals that go beyond any biological threshold to which we evolved to tolerate, we are damaged, and we are damaged severely. So when I talk in my book, The 7 Principles of Stress, I provide people actually with a guide first time, how to navigate, and how to find the exact threshold that benefit you. Benefit you is literally far and beyond. And there are stresses. I just want to finish this question with this statement. There are stressors everywhere, in the environment, in our physical, nutritional. In fact, nutritional stressors are the key. We need to understand what nutritional stress does to our body. It's the most important factor, and even more so, there are certain kind of nutrients that mimic the effect of stress. In fact, they mimic the effect of exercise on your body. This is an incredible phenomenon. This nutrient basically fell under the radar. There is a reason, I believe there is a reason, I know why they fell under the radar. Yet these nutrients today are more important to your survival and biological fitness than vitamin and antioxidant and all the FDA, RDA that you hear about.
This is fascinating stuff already. And we're going to dive in and talk about this nutritional stress and that component, and I think is really going to enlighten a lot of folks. But I want to just take a step back really quickly. You kind of, what I thought about when I was reading your book is that stress is kind of like, there's like a bell-shaped curve, and there's a sweet spot for stress for us to be. And a lot of us, we're kind of on one side or the other, and sometimes we're on both sides in certain areas. And there's a healthy amount of stress that we all need that many of us are not accessing. And that's what your book was so fantastic about, kind of highlighting for us. And you already mentioned one of the stress principles and looking at this kind of sweet spot. But there's another one that you mentioned, says maximum resiliency to stress requires combined nutritional and physical stress. All right, nutritional and physical stress. So I want to talk about each of those. All right, let's start with the physical stress first. Let's jump to that side.
Physical stress is very obvious. We already know that exercise benefits us. We know that people who exercise regularly are generally more resilient to disease, and they age slower than sedentary people who do not exercise. In fact, we don't even need to know so much. The visual of it is clear.
Right.
People who are trained well, they look leaner, they look stronger, they look better, and they have a better energy than sedentary people. So that is very obvious. The science behind it go far and beyond the time frame that we talk, but biologically what happens when you put your body under mechanical or oxidative stress, you trigger a system, it's called a stress response system, that compensate you for the hardship with multiply action that improve the active organ, in this case the muscle, the cardiovascular system, etc. But we have to understand that behind this there is a one factor which is overruling, and that factor is energy. We were trained to believe that we need energy for life, and this is true. But ironically, biologically, it is the depletion of energy that trigger us to adapt and improve. It's the depletion of energy during exercise, the wear and tear and breakdown of your muscle tissue that put your body in a survival mode, trigger your stress response to adapt and improve. This depletion of energy bring us now back or down to the most important stressor, which is nutritional stress. We know that we need to eat to get nutrient and energy to survive. What the vast majority of us don't know, that it's the depletion of energy, not eating, fasting, that trigger our stress response system to improve us. By all means, improve us. I got in my book to all the details and the research, what kind of genes are activated, what kind of cellular factors are activated, what transcription factors are activated. But one thing is clear. When you reach a point that you even deplete your glycogen, which is really an extreme state or peak state of energy depletion, the compensating actions of your body are so powerful that you start to wake up dormant stem cell to regenerate new cells in your brain, something that's until 2 decades ago scientists were not aware of.
Yeah.
This is an incredible process. Your body activates a system, it's called the heat shock protein response, that search and destroy, Shawn, every weak and sick cell in your body. Cancer cells that everybody has can be destroyed when you are in a state of energy depletion and full survival alert. There is a process, it's called autophagocytosis, when cells are being renovated within the inside. Every broken derbies be recycled, digested, and weak and broken cells are totally being destroyed to be rejuvenated. So think about it. you have this awesome mechanism under state of energy depletion, whether it's exercise or fasting or combined both, which give you even stronger impact. This awesome system activate certain kind of proteins that percolate in your system to keep regenerating you and make you better than before. Not just protecting you from getting older and weaker, actually regenerating you to keep you better than you were even younger. It's an incredible system. There's only one problem, Shawn. Most people hardly activate it at all.
Right.
You should be activated. We evolved to activate this system, Shawn. In my opinion, at least half of the day, at least 6 to 8 hours a day. Human evolved to be hungry. They didn't have access to food. They were engaged in fight or flight activity. And yes, compensated at least once a day. Some people say every other day. The concept is called intermittent fasting. This granted us that most of the time, all these compounds that rejuvenate your system and in fact, reprogram even your fat cells to generate energy rather than the store, break down, burn rather than store. It's, again, an incredible system. Think that most people shut it down by frequent meals. They start to shove energy in the big American breakfast. Then there's a power lunch, a snack here. And before they even know, they go to the health food store to buy another nice snack with some sugar inside. And they, in the end of the day, they check themselves on the weight, or in the morning after, they don't lose weight. They don't get better. Shawn, you're going to the gym. You look to me in a good shape. Honestly, when you look at people in the gym, do they really look like they're getting better? Most people look the same.
Yeah.
I've been going to the gym. I'm just asking myself, what the hell is going on? Why people are not improving? Because they don't know the very things that we just discussed. They don't know how to methodically challenge the body, signal it to adapt, improve, and excel.
You know, the term intermittent fasting, and this is just so awesome right here. A lot of people, everybody listening right now, if you've heard that term, Ori is the guy who really helped to push this into culture and in a way that's very practical and taking some of the science and bringing it to the forefront. So you actually get to hear from the guy. And one of the fascinating things that you mentioned, stem cells, holy moly. So we're stem cells, and we've done a show talking about this and the various types of stem cells that there are, pluripotent, multipotent, adult stem cells. But to trigger the function and activation of stem cells can become any cell your body needs. And you can trigger your body to do this process with some intermittent fasting, with some strategic, controlled nutritional stress, right? And also a couple of other things I want to mention too, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You see
Correct.
an uptick in that as well, So
very good,
we're
yes.
talking about protecting your brain, keeping your brain younger. And by the way, when we talked first off about the physical stress, again, everybody knows about this at this point, but not to the degree like you engaging in exercise, the right kind of exercise, again, on a bell-shaped curve, not running yourself into the ground, you get all of these anabolic benefits. And one of those that is kind of overlooked, like muscle tissue itself is a really interesting tissue in the body. It can actually store what we consider to be these kind of anti-aging hormones. Like it's kind of like a reservoir you're building up. This is why people who build muscle tend to stay younger longer. All right. And this is just one of the things, Ori.
You are touching something very interesting and very important.
Yeah.
It's the question of what does it mean, muscular development? Why the hell are we working out so hard? What is the main goal? Well, for most people, I want to look good, I want to look muscular, I want to be lean. I think being lean is like a top priority, and for a good reason, and I agree. However, how many of us really interested in the quality of the muscle that we build? The quality of the muscle fiber, at least among scientists, is the key for our biological fitness. Look at yourself. You don't look to me overgrown. You look to me right now pretty much lean and fit. But most likely, people who look like you also our biologic fit. Let me explain. If your goal is basically just to score or to build a strong, big muscle, oversized muscle, you generally build a muscle that can really score extremely strong and big. It's called the type 2B fast muscle primarily. However, this muscle is very limited in its fueling capacity. Now, this is a big limitation. If your muscle is not good, can only utilize carb fuel, they are called glycolytic fast muscle. If these are only good in utilize sugar for energy and not good in utilizing fat for energy, your whole body suffer a serious default, because one of the basic rule of organism or mammal or animal improvement, including human, is the ability to utilize fat as a fuel, the ability to utilize fat for energy rather than throw lipids back to the organ. In fact, accumulation of lipids in the organ, especially liver and muscle, is a sign of degradation and degeneration. It's a sign that a person is basically prone to metabolic syndrome if you're already not suffering from that. So when you eat, for instance, the steak with the marble steak is not coming from a healthy animal. White animals don't have marbled meat. In fact, they're very lean. The point is, sorry for the comparison, fitness today is not defined. People do not understand the real goal, or they don't want to hear about it. But in my book, I clearly show that, like with all animals, our fitness goals should be very clear. Better survivability, building a body with muscle, with maximum capacity to utilize fat fuel, not just carb. There is a certain kind of a type of fiber that you want to develop, and there is a way to do that, nutritionally and physically. It's called the type 2X. The type 2X, which is a super muscle fiber, it's a fast fiber, which is not the typical bodybuilder, it's not the type 2B, but it is extremely efficient in utilizing both carb and fat fuel. It programs your body now to be more efficient in utilizing fat, sustaining yourself lean, and resisting aging as you go by. So it's coming down to the last question. So what exactly are we doing? Are we going to the gym just to pump the muscle, do the bench press and check the size of the muscle? Or are we going in order to improve our all biological fitness? So 10 years from now, we will look younger and better and perform even better than we are now. This is the key question. I offer in my book new parameters for human fitness. Simple protocol that you can be an athlete or you can be a fitness enthusiast, but adapt the new vision that you just want to build yourself to be a superior you. Yeah. Not for now, not to score in the Olympics, but to be in the peak biological shape that you can be.
Love it so much, Ori. So let's kind of break this down for folks with intermittent fasting. What does this actually look like in a practical sense? You know, a lot of people have heard the term. We've talked about it on the show, and I'll put an episode link in the show notes, guys. We kind of dove in and broke this down in my own practice for a pretty long time now. But in general, you know, we hear the term break fast, right? Breakfast, and you're breaking your overnight fast. That's already giving you a part of this fasting window. If you're sleeping, hopefully you're sleeping. You know, everybody should know. I wrote a book called Sleep Smarter. It's kind of important. So make sure that you're adding that in there into the equation. But if you can extend that window, you start to get some of these benefits he's talking about. So can you break down what intermittent fasting looks like in a practical sense for people to do if they feel called to?
In my opinion, and I try to prove it, the best intermittent fasting should be based on 1 meal a day. Quite honestly, I try to also prove that we should eat at night. That means supper was always the main meal of human. I'm not Christian, but even Jesus has his last supper. He didn't have his last breakfast because breakfast did not even exist at that time. In the Bible, it's called Pat Shacharit. That means very little stuff that humans used to eat. If you look at King David when he was a kid and before he just fought Goliath, so his dad, Ishai, sent him with some food to his brother who was supposed to be soldiers with King Saul in the Valley of Ayalon, about to fight the Philistine, where Goliath the giant was there threatening everybody. It took David a whole day. He came from the Judea area. It took him a whole day to reach Ayalon, I guess by foot, which is normal because people did not need to eat breakfast. He brought them food toward the end. People don't think about it, but he repeatedly appears since biblical time. The Romans warrior used to eat only at night. In fact, Julius Caesar had centurion, police almost, that forbidden people to enjoy meals during the day. And the Greeks used to do same thing. So the concept of intermittent fasting, of minimizing eating during the day and eating 1 minute a day, it's not just nice concept of health. It has been used by people who are extremely physically engaged, from the Spartan to the Greeks to the Roman warrior. I felt this myself many years ago, that my performance and cognitive function increased dramatically when I don't eat. Later on, when I studied in university, I realized the amazing science behind under-eating and fasting, how it actually increases your alertness, put you in a survival mode, which is exactly what you need. Improve energy utilization, which is exactly what you need. But right now we know, with the science of stress, that not eating turn on the stress response system to improve you. We, I believe, though, should not overdo it. So, in my opinion, I believe that people should eat once a day and don't fast and eat every other day. The reason so? Two reasons. Number one, we evolved to do it this way. We live around the 24-hour circadian clock. We need to compensate at least once a day before suffering side effects. But even more so, when you prolong any stress, whether it's physical or nutritional, you are putting yourself under the risk of falling to chronic stress. And chronic stress is the worst thing you can put yourself under, Shawn. So extending fasting to every other day as a routine, or every 3 days, like fasting 3 days as a routine, I believe it's a big mistake. It goes too long. It creates emotional stress. We never evolved for that, and it doesn't bring you any benefit beyond what I just described. I clearly say in my book and show that every stress to be beneficial must be intermittent. You cannot just prolong any stress. Just think about even the radio that you like. Put you under stress. It's a creative stress. It's great. Put your adrenaline. You create and you achieve. But what if somebody just put you now for a week like this, standing like this next to the mic and drilling? That will crush you, Shawn. Same beneficial stress, prolongated. It has to do simply with the way we evolve. Our endocrine system, the brain. Control. The most important response to stress that we have, it's called the fight or flight response. It's the most critical response to primal survival. Because if some kind of a danger happen or a beast is about to kill you, even more so, a human being is threatening you, or war, or some situation of fire that you need to fight or run away, this system help you react properly. problem. The system never evolved to be activated for a prolonged period of time. It evolved to be strong, fast, swift reaction. So when you see fighters in the ring, correctly so, they're usually coming in a bout that divided to a 3 up to 5 minute round, 5 minutes on maybe UFC or MMA, and 3 minutes in boxing. Give you enough time to somehow do these intermittent bouts that you are dealing with. Once this is prolonged beyond a certain threshold, we are facing a problem. The fight or flight response becomes dysfunctional.
This is again pointing us back to the fact that we can utilize stress for our benefit, but at the same time to be mindful that there are levels to this. And so somebody going from 3 meals and 3 snacks a day to eating 1 meal, there's quite a jump off right there.
It is, correct.
And so what I would recommend people to do, and I know Ori would say this as well, but is to kind of transition yourself, get yourself acclimated. And so for myself personally, and by the way, this is an incredibly effective way to lose fat because your body is going to continuously pull off of that food that's coming in. It's good. Why would your body do the arduous work of breaking down stored body fat for fuel when there's new food coming in all the time? So it's actually, this is a logical thing. And again, we've been trained that this is the way that we're supposed to eat. And also, we hear these things like your metabolism will shut down if you're not eating all these things. There's zero science behind it. It's just something somebody made up one day and just like, oh, that sounds good. Eat some more cereal. But the reality is this, for myself personally, I'm one of those people that I lose weight pretty quickly. And so making sure that I'm getting enough meals in that window or enough food and but still stretching that window out to get a lot of the benefits that Ori's talk about. Maybe not all of them because I'm not doing just that 1 meal, but my fasting window might be from, we'll say 7 p.m. at night until 8 a.m. the next day. And even, there's some stuff coming out. I want to talk to you about this. If you're seeing any of this science out there that's showing that even having coffee or like herbal tea can kind of change the system and not get that full effect of the intermittent fast. So I'll break my fast with the coffee, with some 4-sigmatic coffee and some MCT oil and all that good stuff. But I'll stretch it out. I used to do it earlier.
Yeah, please describe, what do you eat for breakfast? Because I'd like to talk to you about this.
Sure. And so again, my feeding window might be from 8 a.m. until I'll be done. I have to be done by 7 p.m. in the evening. And that's given me a nice 13-hour window of a fast. And so I usually just have the coffee with some MCT oil and I'll hit the gym. And so I'll work out and I might not have breakfast, so-called breakfast, for another 2 hours or so. So it's getting close to 11 a.m. And then I'll have a lunch and a dinner in there as well. So I'm kind of packing my nutrition into that feeding window and it works for me. But
so
sometimes
your
I'll
main
have
meal
two.
is midday. Your main meal is midday.
My main meal is dinner. Midday meal isn't much.
At what time do you eat dinner?
Hopefully, if things are working out well according to plan, 6:30 p.m.
Let me add to some of the stuff. So I disagree. In fact, coffee is totally complementary and so is MCT. Totally complementary to fasting. In fact, it makes fasting even work better. There's a lot of science. How, in fact, coffee mimic the effect of fasting. There are certain kind of nutrients that mimic the effect of fasting and exercise on your body. There's nothing wrong with eating this nutrient. Shawn, people don't understand when you have this stress-activated nutrient, some of them fell under the radar, some of the most important. Mm-hmm. Most people hardly ever, but many of them still exist in our food. So listen to that. How about you eat blueberries? They taste sweet. They give you naturally occurring sugar, right? But this does not raise your blood sugar. The postprandial effect of blueberry or even green tea or coffee is reduction of blood sugar. In fact, if you eat something with blueberries, enough polyphenol or tannin in blueberry will reduce the blood sugar. And say in all berries, strawberries, raspberries. There's research done on grape pomace. If you eat grapes, not the industrial or GMO without seed, with the seeds and the pulp, the grape pomace have shown to significantly reduce postprandial after meal blood sugar and lipids. Now, Shawn, you know that this is the number one factor for diabetes, obesity, and aging, is the postprandial elevation of blood sugar and blood lipid. So, for people who eat frequently, every time they finish or after the meal, breakfast, lunch, a power snack, and then dinner, and then late dinner, there is elevation of blood sugar and lipid that overall it's an accumulated factor that lead to metabolic syndrome, obesity, and diabetes. This explains why modern men are so vulnerable. So the point is, what we generally don't know, that many nutrients that are hidden someplace, even on the supermarket, don't work like the regular food that we eat. You can eat it when you under-eat during the day. It complements fasting, and that's why I put berries as a very desirable food. Good grass-fed whey contain nutrients that mimic fasting, and basically some kind of fruits have it. You minimize your eating, but you don't need to starve yourself. You actually complement your body by giving nutrients that and strengthen your insulin, prevent high blood sugar spike, make you lean down even more so. So your routine, actually, when it's reaching the breakfast, is just perfect. Not only that you fast, you put coffee that mimic fasting. Coffee does other things too. Shut down your hunger a little bit, activate cellular factors that improve your brain capacity and your protective capacity. And then you exercise, as you described, you further deplete. That's stress principle number 2, maximus impact. You deplete further your glycogen because you virtually exercise on empty. So by the time you finish exercise, you're in a peak energy depletion. Your body is in a peak survival mode. If you can pull this, and it's not easy, instead of shoving food recovery immediately, pull that, push that for another hour or two, you just got great beneficial factor percolating in your system. So then when you eat the meal, you cannot get fat after such depletion. That's part of the stress principle. Energy depletion overrules any other factor. In fact, you become even resilient to sugar itself, and sugar is the worst thing you can do. But when your glycogen are depleted, your body can tolerate even sugar. So I believe your intermittent fasting is right because it works for you, because you feel it, you experience. There is no steady rule, but the one thing you should avoid, and I'm saying it to everybody, do not go under a theory if it doesn't work. Don't put yourself on a stress that will crush you. Do not overfast, do not overtrain, and every time that you are under enormous stress or anything, stop and try to break it down. If you feel that something is prolonged, try to break it down either by a bout of exercise, go out, breathe air, talk to somebody that you trust. Don't let anything manifest or percolate inside you for too long.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, and just pointing people back to basics, back to paying attention to your body, listening to your intuition. Thank you, because these are great best practices, and getting people educated. And I want to talk more about stress mimicking nutrients, but I want to share one quick thing is that I remember the first day that I came across this work and the studies about intermittent fasting. This was probably, maybe 9 years ago. And I'm a guy that I want to experiment. I want to find out. So the next day I go to the gym, having been somebody eating breakfast for years, I went to the gym fasted, and it was terrible. Like
It's
I felt,
hard, huh?
I was like, this is like ridiculous. But I stuck with it, and I think I had like some yerba mate tea or something like that. And my blood sugar was a little bit wonky, but your body adapts, and I got adapted so quickly. And today, like I go and I'll do 400-pound deadlift and bench pressing, squat jumps, lunges, all this stuff, box jumps. I'll do these incredible workouts just from having some coffee, and I don't even think twice about it. And afterwards, and this is a cool thing about like when you're really doing like, especially with high intensity interval training, you're not hungry afterwards.
That's very true.
What's so crazy, when you really put that intensity into your workout, and so I could literally go another couple hours without eating. I tend to not do that. It might be an hour later, something like that. But I just want people to know that if this is something you're interested in, again, there's like an on-ramp. Put the training wheels on first and find out what happens. But I want to talk more about stress mimicking nutrients. I'm going to do that right after this quick break. So sit tight. We'll be right back. Don't sleep on sleep. Today, there is a big revolution happening to improve our sleep quality because we're understanding finally just how much our sleep quality impacts our physical performance, our brain function, and literally impacts our body composition. Sleep deprivation is something that can directly lead to increased fat gain and an inability to lose weight as well. With great sleep, we see an increased ability to burn fat, like the research that was done by the International Association for the Study of Obesity that found that our sleep quality, namely a sleep-related hormone called melatonin that everybody's heard of, increases your body's production of something called brown adipose tissue. This is a type of fat that actually burns fat. And the reason that it's brown versus the white adipose tissue is brown adipose tissue has a lot more mitochondria. And these are the energy power plants in our cells, very metabolically active tissue that we build more of when we get great sleep. Now, the issue today is getting that great sleep. And there's tons of lifestyle factors, but there's also a nutrition component. And there's a study that was published in the journal Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior that found that the renowned medicinal mushroom reishi was able to, number one, significantly decrease sleep latency. This means you fall asleep faster when you have reishi. They also found that this increased overall sleep time for study participants. And they found that this increased the sleep efficiency by improving the non-REM deep sleep and improving our light REM sleep as well. This comprehensive approach to improving sleep. It's not pounding our sleep into submission, what we see with conventional drugs and things of that nature, where it's kind of like pseudo sleep. This is actually improving your sleep quality, your sleep efficiency by utilizing reishi. Now, the only reishi that I use is from Four Sigmatic because it's dual extracted, where they're doing an alcohol extract and a hot water extract. So they're actually extracting all of the nutrients from the mushroom that you think you're getting with company X. All right, you're actually getting those compounds. With the hot water extract, you're getting the beta-glucan related compounds. And then with the alcohol extract, you're getting more of the hormonal compounds. And I think these are really important for sleep, like the terpenes and things in that category and so much more. So make sure to use foursigmatic.com/model to get your hands on this and so much more. So that's foursigmatic.com/model. You get 15% off their reishi elixir and all of their medicinal mushroom elixirs, coffees, hot cocos, and so much more. I love Four Sigmatic. I literally have them every single day, one of their different products. Today I had my Lion's Mane coffee mix. So good. And it has all of these benefits as well. If you're still drinking standard coffee, what are you doing? You need to get these benefits from the Four Sigmatic coffee mixes. Now, head over and check them out ASAP because these are absolutely game-changing. The coffee mix, great for in the morning. Reishi, great for in the evening and winding down. And they've got all of this research to back it up. And this is what it's all about, is having more education so that we're executing on the things that really do work, that have a clinically proven benefit, and we can actually enjoy ourselves and have a good time along the way. And again, that's foursigmatic.com/model for 15% off everything. And now back to the show. All right, we're back and we're talking with the one and only Ori Hofmekler about this fascinating topic of stress and his principles of stress, his new book. And I absolutely love it. And again, he's somebody who really helped to push into public consciousness this understanding of intermittent fasting and the benefits. So before the break, we were talking about stress mimicking nutrients. So again, let's kind of recap. What is that exactly? And what are some of those stress mimicking nutrients that we can take advantage of?
Stress mimicking nutrient, or what I call nutrient of stress activated food, a nutrient that mimic the effect of exercise on your body. They give you the same benefit actually of fasting and exercise on your body. They activate the same genes. They trigger your ability to respond, they trigger your stress response system. They can trigger this heat shock protein response, which I discussed before, that help search and destroy every weak and sick element in your body. Some of this nutrient, if you look at the cutting edge research, have shown to reverse type 2 diabetes. Some of them, like berberine, for instance, have been shown to be more effective than the drug metformin. So we evolved in a world that was very primarily based on the lower food chain, where humans consume many of these nutrients which were inherent to the lower food chain. But today, many of these nutrients were removed out of our food chain because they inherently appear or occur in waste products like barks of trees, rhizomes, pits, and peels that we don't consume anymore. Traditional herbal medicine do extract some of these nutrients, and they have a healing effect, but the ignorance about this is stunning. Most people have no idea that they exist. What we know is the food pyramid, arguably correctly or so, the FDA, right? Food pyramid and RDA, how much vitamin and antioxidant we need, how much B1, B2, B3, whatever it is. What people don't understand, that the biggest missing link in our nutrition today are these nutrients. Now here's what happened, Shawn. We evolved in a very stressed world. That's the way it is. I mean, primordial world, you sometimes could not even cross childhood. The danger, exposure to danger, beast, famine and hardship, extreme climates, really pushed one rule, the survival of the fittest. Only the fittest could survive. But it's not just us or our ancestors or all the animals. Plants too. The food that we ate was stressed. And as plants are stressed, they produce molecules that protect them from the stress, whether it's a predation, a pest, or heat shock or cold shock. The plants and the animal produce molecules that protect them. These are the stress activated nutrients, and these are the nutrients, many of them mimic the effect of exercise on our body. When an animal or a human eat a stress food that is widely grown, they generally benefit from the same nutrient that protect the plant will protect the human or animal that eat them. It's an incredible phenomenon. As I said, these nutrients, many of them are missing today. And they are more critical to our survival on a society that the vast majority of adults are now suffering from overweight or obesity or diabetes or metabolic syndrome. This nutrient can resolve it. Now, why don't we see them? Because if people had an access to that, and by the way, I did a research project on that, and that's how I came into that. It's called SAF, S-A-F. If you want to see some research about this nutrient, go to SAF, SAF, Stress Activated Food, SAF.org, or at defensenutrition.com. You can find a link to SAF. I was intrigued, and I believe that some of scientists that I've been associated or working with are extremely now intrigued with the idea that we are missing a huge potential of our ability to excel, but not understanding this area of stress nutrition or stress activated molecules. Why the industry is not using it? Because it's threatened our current industry. When you have the knowledge of SAF, when you have the knowledge about intermittent fasting and how to excel, upgrade your physical fitness, and maybe even become resilient to aging to the point that maybe you can double your lifespan, I do believe it's possible, you would stop using 90% of the product out there. Morning cereal will disappear. Somebody will have to renovate the industry. I'm not saying it's impossible. I myself now, on a side, doing a lot of experiment to conquer the bottom of the junk food chain. Yes, create cookies that are really fit human biology, that look and taste better than the regular. Create cereal, create granola, create even an ice cream that fit. I believe that somebody, I'm not selling, I'm just creating models because I'm so interested in offering real solution. It's not just the talk. So stress-activated food, you can find them basically stress-activated nutrient, the nutrient that mimic. You can find them again in all wild berries, in all grown plants, and animals that live on wild plants like grass-fed, pasture-raised animal. Goats, sheep, and grass-fed cows produce milk with compounds that are extremely beneficial to your case. They also help you resist stress. These animals are stressed. Grass-fed animals that are pasture-raised are stressed. They're out there the whole time. They graze. Sometime during the off-season, there is not enough food, so they undereat. Many of them produce even less than half of the milk of grain-fed factory cows animal. However, the milk itself is so much more nutritionally advanced, there is no comparison.
Right.
So I say wild-grown plants and animal live on gripe plants should be your prime food, including eggs from wild free-range chickens. On the top of these nutrients, I believe berberine, which we derive it from bark of trees, certain kind of armor cork tree, is the king. Every research shows that it mimics the effect not just of exercise or fasting. It's a potent inhibitor of emptor, the mechanism that as an adult can drive the aging process and even cause cancer and degrade your body.
So let's talk more about that, Ori. Let's talk about this mTOR pathway and give people a little bit of insight on that.
Well, emptor is a mechanism that, again, like many paradoxical phenomena of nature, benefit you. You're going to die without it, but when overly activated, it will kill you. That's simple. But it becomes more pronounced when you look at young people and adults. When you grow, emptor play a critical role, essential role in helping you grow. It's critical. It's a growth mechanism that builds your bone and muscle and everything that grow. However, when emptor is overactivated or overstimulated in a non-growing body, you and me right now are not growing, we're adults. When it's overly stimulated in a non-growing body, it can cause aging of cells and tissue and cancer. Plain simple. It's absolutely degrade your whole metabolic system. It turn insulin receptors and leptin receptor unsensitive. It just impair the whole system. Enlargement of cells and tissue is not a good thing. It's a sign of aging and degradation. So why do we talk about it? Because the main stimulator of emptor, most trivial, is food. And certain kind of food are very potent emptor stimulator. They can benefit children when they grow. But as you get adult, this emptor stimulating food, you should avoid them. You should minimize the consumption. You don't want to overdo it. It's how much energy you put in your body from food and what kind of food that you eat. The number one stimulator of emptor, if you ask me, is sugar. Anything that fast release energy will stimulate emptor, and when you overdo it, it will overstimulate emptor. So any kind of food that combine sugar with starch, or sugar with fat, or sugar with anything, will overstimulate emptor, and if you eat it frequently or too much, you really put yourself on a very high risk. Not just to gain fat, to degrade your infrastructure, to enlarge your fat cell, to create growth in an unneeded growth in a non-growing body. Again, when you look back at the early food chain, it was very well balanced with very little emptor stimulating food. Most of our food came from non-glycemic nutrient or from food that is anti-glycemic. They call it anti-nutrient, like berries. Berries have polyphenols. We don't have enough time to get to the side, but it's stunning. It's so exciting to see that. Polyphenol, when they go to very high molecule, like 300 kD, basically, can bind or inhibit enzyme that break sugar. So you eat the sugar, but you evolve to not utilize it, and definitely not in excess. That's the kind of food chain that we evolved to live in. Very low glycemic, very non-insulin spiking, and very nutritious. What we turn today into is the food that the vast majority is processed, depleted of this nutrient, very glycemic, and addictive. Our food and the industry make it more and more addictive so we can buy more. What we do now, we live in a system under eating food that produced by the industry, food that make us old, fat, and sick. We should stop doing it. And the first thing is
right.
knowledge. It's what you do.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ori. You know what? It just came to such a simplistic point, like these things are doing this to us. We should stop. All right. The cereal industry, Lucky Charms, tricks. Oh my goodness, the memories. But, if these things are hurting us, maybe we should stop, and the great news is people like yourself and, myself as well, is really pioneering and helping to spark the minds of people who are creating products and flavor sensations and enjoyment from food that meet the prerequisites that you're talking about. There's no lack here. And if we want to get started now, there's such a great education in the work that you do. And with these stress mimicking nutrients, I recall, I don't know where I saw you talk about this. Maybe this was in the book as well, but curcumin is another one.
Yes, curcumin is very powerful, yes.
That's one of the reasons today that I'm able to talk a little bit better than yesterday, where I was like whispering, is I went really ham on a concentrated formula with turmeric and curcumin, and it really helped with inflammation the next day. But I didn't know that I was actually giving a stress mimicking nutrient to my body. And it makes sense. Like once I understood about this concept, it became so obvious of how certain compounds really have this prolific effect on the human body once we utilize them. And we see cultures that utilize something like turmeric to a great degree, and you see less incidence of cancer, for example.
Absolutely, these nutrients are toxic to cancer. When you put them, you basically make your body toxic to cancer. Cancer cells thrive on sugar. It definitely don't like stuff that inhibit a mechanism that make cancer flow. In fact, all you want is to give cancer cell something that normal cells should do. It's called apoptosis. Cells supposed to commit suicide. Listen, this is not a democracy here. Not everybody has the right to live. In your body, a cell that is dysfunctional is supposed to commit suicide and die. So when you see these quacks on the internet who say, well, it's all come down to the cell. Cell's supposed to live, and everything that kills your cells is bad for you. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. We evolve to constantly, we have all the system to search and destroy and kill and recycle all the weak and sick cells in our body. If we fail to do that, we can become not only age, we can develop tumor and cancer. So we need this system, and this kind of nutrient that we just talked about help you search and destroy, activate the system that destroy the weak and sick cells that everybody is prone to have in the system. So you're right. You're doing the right thing. And I believe, and I wrote about it in my book, I believe that even predators who are not vegetarian have the instinct to search for this nutrient. I don't know if you have dogs. We have dogs and cats we rescue. And I can tell you both are the ferocious predators. They're doing very well. We got some big pit bulls and some cat that is almost 18 years old.
Wow.
Still hunting. But all these animals, amazingly, are attracted to grass. Dog like to eat grass, and so is cats. Dog actually like to chew bark of trees and everything bitter, pits of olive. We have olive trees here. And even eat the earth. They are looking for soft nutrient. That's the only explanation. They are looking because the estrogen and bitter taste of stuff. Yes? Mark the presence of this nutrient. So predators who are not vegetarian, crazy on grass. I mean, I cannot even stop my dogs from doing it. And my cat, I have to buy him wheat grass or barley grass so he can eat it too. We have this instinct too, but it's all been crushed out of us with sugary and greasy things. We've got to build it again.
Yeah.
The crave for nutrient, the intake of them, and the understanding of what's good and what's bad. What are the triggers that make us biologically fit and reprogram our system to resist aging, hardship, and disease? Versus what are the triggers that make us fat, sick, and old? Use one, avoid the other group.
There it is. Ori, this is so fascinating, and just very grateful for your work and for your articulation, and wow, just insights on top of insights. And even thinking about the action of your dogs, just like that's so mind-blowing and interesting. Man, so if you could, I've got one final question for you. And this is kind of a big picture question. I would like to know this personally as well. What is the model that you're here to set with the way that you live your life personally? What is the example that you're here to set for other people?
Wow, what a question. Okay. I believe that the model should be a stressed human being, but I'd rather use the name challenged. You deliberately and knowingly challenge yourself to keep improving and excelling. And I believe there is no peak to this. Maybe there is a biologically peak, but each of us need to search for that. For me, many things are too late. I just learned it too late. Still, for what that I am, I believe I'm in relatively good shape for what that I went through. And in many ways, physically, I still perform with people who are 30 or 40 years younger than I am, pound for pound. But that's not the point. The point is, life is exciting. We don't even know how great it can be, and we don't even know how long we can live. I mean, I have a chapter in my book. It's very important, not just on nutrition, on sexuality too. We can delay sexual aging, not just male, female too. There are ways to do that, and it has to do with following the stress principle. There's already evidence that organisms under stress of the same species delay sexual aging to the point that they can still reproduce in ages that years ago they were expected to finish and die. And think about it. Why do we age and why do we die from aging? Because nature has no reason to keep us alive. Biologists believe that nature select you for disposal when you cannot contribute to the future generation of your species. So they say, well, when you lose your capacity to reproduce, nature is ready to give up on you. But I think it's more than that. I think it's a contribution to the future. You can see many anecdotal empirical evidence. It deserves a book by itself, of old people, consider old, grandmother who raised the children alone. Raising the children keep them young. People who decide to walk at an old age or have a dream to finish, and it keep them young. So think young. I also believe that we don't have to die old. Yes, we can live to an old age, but we don't have to die from the typical old aging-related diseases. We don't. We can live long, but die like young people do from non-aging related causes such as accident, injury. Hey, young people die. It looked tragic, but not from aging-related diseases. So that's my model. A person who keeps challenging himself to keep improving, extend his life, improve the quality of life, and manage not only to change the way he lived, but also change the way he expected to die. Die like a young person, not like an old person.
Boom. Powerful. Ori, thank you so much for your brilliance. And I want to thank you for challenging yourself to create this work and to put it into personal practice and then to share it with the rest of us. Truly inspiring.
Thank you.
Can you let everybody know where they can find your book and connect with you online?
Yes, the book is available at Amazon.com, The 7 Principles of Stress by North Atlantic Books. And more information of stress-activated food that we discussed, SAF, is saf.org or defensenutritional.com. You can also log into orihofmekler.com, and even more importantly, go to my social media, Ori Hofmekler, or Defense Nutrition's or Warrior Diet social media. I can interact with you. I'll be happy to do that.
Ori Hofmekler, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shawn. I enjoyed this talk.
All right, everybody, that was Ori Hofmekler, and I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode today. Now, this is about, again, learning from the experts, learning from the best people in the world in their respective fields and extracting the things that feel good in your own life. You know, again, as Bruce Lee quoted, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. All right, so, and this is just scratching the surface on what we're going to be providing this year. But I wanted to kick things off with a conversation about this tool that you're going to be hearing so much more about in popular media and really kind of get ahead of the curve. And this is the relationship between the benefits of stress and this kind of bell-shaped curve, and how stress is not just something that can take us down and cause all of these problems, metabolic and otherwise, but also the benefits that we can get by getting the correct dose of stress, because we need it. It's a catalyst. We need that catabolism to activate the anabolism, if that makes sense. All right. So I want to really get you some information on that. But also, again, make sure we're kicking off Model Mondays. Go to themodelhealthshow.com/Mondays. And each week on Mondays, you're getting more from the Model Health Show, 3 special pieces of content that is going to help to propel you each and every week. All right, so pop over there and get access to that ASAP. We've got some incredible show topics coming up and some incredible guests. I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind, so make sure to be ready. This is your year. No more playing around. This is time to execute, all right? It's time to focus in. It's time to get yourself around that empowering information to support you in your vision. And again, it's time to execute. This is your year. Take care. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon.